Excuse me.
Let your body move. Yeah, I'm gonna stand up. You don't mind if I stand, right? I feel better when I stand.
Just
Okay. All right. All right.
40 hours.
Okay.
They are championing prep those bills to maintain 300 hours. So that's
Yes.
important for us to have the conversation. I don't know. Can you speak to the bill? Not now, but is it possible? Okay. All right. So we'll let them present.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. You know, to everyone in real life and virtual. Hi. So what you'll see up here in your packet, we're just going to go through it real quick, is the reality of an industry. And on the left side, we have the NHBC about natural hair care and braiding in New York State. That's our one sheeter. We're going to get into that with some good information. Our comparison bills to all the bills that are on the competing bills that are on the table. Alopecia and hair loss and consumer reports. And then additional contents will be gentle styling versus protective styling and the New York State approved natural hair courses, which I believe there are about 42 of them. And did any of you know that? Right, a lot of people don't, but we're going to get into that today. And then, of course, we have our letters of support, and those are from two derms, Professor Wendy Green, who is the director of Center for Law and the architect for the Crown Act and a social action Drexel at Drexel University. And then we have Diane C. Bailey, who is an author, an amazing connoisseur of natural hair, and a hair restoration specialist, and she'll get into that later. But first, I want to tell you about the NHBC, and my name is Erin Mabin. I am a licensed cosmetologist, as well as educator, and I do some other things. I am a subject matter expert, and that's why we find that this moment is very important. Our organization came together in 2021 to stop the deregulation of the natural hair care license. And that was being, I think, led by Institute of Justice, and there was another bill on the table to lower the hours, just like we see right now. This is something that keeps repeating itself. So our mission is to elevate the art and science of natural hair care industry through education and legislation on a global scale. Our core values are health first, cultural competency, equity and access, economic empowerment. And our four pillars of our work are advocacy and activism, ethical education, business development, community health and safety. And our timeline of impact started in 2021, going in 2022, up until now. And you can just take a look at this one sheeter, and this is amazing information. And so what I want to get into is the current license. Right now, we have a license that is in action. It's 300 hours in New York State, and we are looking to improve and modernize that license. Okay? There are multiple programs, and we'll get into that later, but I am going to pass that over to Diane. Yes, I am.
Okay,
Keep it
so
pushing.
why are we here? I want to start with
Who are you? Who are you?
Oh. Hello, I'm Diane DaCosta. I am the author of the book Textured Tresses, the author of Milady Standard Cosmetology book, as well as a textured expert and a salon owner in Harlem. I want to start with the natural hairstyling license. It was established in 1993 by these two advocates here who championed the license for people of color by people of color, Black women and men, predominantly in Harlem and Brooklyn. And they'll get into more of why and how the license came.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Welcome, welcome. Oh, we just saw you.
Came into existence. How many of you know that there are several competing bills on natural hairstyling right now? Yes, are you aware? Are you aware of all the bills?
Two,
All
four.
of them.
I
Yeah, four
am.
bills.
Over here, I am.
Okay, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, Alicia, hi. Okay. Yes. So just to break it down, we're going to give you assembly members' Bill A7924 and S6652, which are going to be same as bills as they were last session. And it strengthens the natural hair styling license, keeping the 300 hours, preserving it. It includes a apprenticeship, which is going to be 80 to 100 hours, and it updates the name of the license to natural hair care and braiding, which is inclusive of all styling, textured styling, braiding, twisting, locking, weaving, as well as all extension techniques. The license modernizes and includes new terminology and updates the bill because it hasn't been updated from 1997. It also establishes the pathway for apprenticeship. Then we have Deborah, Wendy Green,
Yes.
please.
Sure.
Before I go into Senator Claire and A.M. Hunter's bill. So just to be clear, we are in support and advocating for Pretlow's bill, which is A7924, preserving the 300 hours and elevating the license. Deborah.
Sure. Dr. Wendy Green offers this statement. Assembly Bill 7924 seeks to accomplish these common objectives of occupational licensure. Assembly Bill 7924 embodies the core competencies of a professional natural hairstylist and different pathways for natural hair care specialists to demonstrate these core competencies and obtain a license to offer their services to the public for compensation. Uniquely, this bill also seeks to promote and preserve a critical aspect of natural hairstyling and hair care more generally that is often missing in the development of occupational licensure requirements: cultural humility. Applied to the hair care context, cultural humility is lifelong learning-oriented approach to working with people with diverse cultural backgrounds and a recognition of power dynamics in the provision of hair care. Diane DaCosta.
Okay, so now I'm just gonna go over the issues of Bill S5438 introduced by Senator Claire and Bill 86592, which is Assembly Member Pam Hunter. The issues with the bill that we have in existing is, first, the name of the bill is natural hair styling. It reduces the hours from 300 to 40 hours, basically deregulating and eliminating the natural hair styling license as it is. It focuses only on braiders, whether you're Caribbean, African American, or the diaspora of African braiders. It eliminates all natural hair styling techniques, braiding, weaving, locking, twisting, curriculum. Therefore, no one would be learning about the technique of styling. And it also ignores natural hair care and braiding's cultural significance because it's eliminating it from students who are actually want to learn the cultural significance and the braiding techniques. It eliminates completely sanitation, disinfecting, disorders, scalp and diseases, alopecia, and other pertinent curriculum, which now includes 80 hours in the curriculum right now. To reduce it to 40 hours does it injustice, as it's no way you can actually, initiate that many subject matters in the 40 hours. And actually right now, it was in the Assembly Program and Council staff, and they reviewed it and they said no way. It is halted actually right now because they do not agree with it being reduced to 40 hours at all. We have some suggestions and solutions for this because we are for braiders having access to the license. barriers in the past has been the language barrier. Erin works on the Appearance Enhancement Board, and she has been working with the Secretary of State to include all African languages, not all of them, but many African languages to be on the testing, on the application, so that is eliminated at this point. Our other suggestions are that there is a subdivision, a licensed braiding natural hair license, which would be part of a subdivision of the natural hair styling full 300 curriculum hours, and it would have a separate license for braiders, or a separate certification for braiders that would include the curriculum of health and safety, sanitation, disinfecting, and all the other curriculums of the 80 hours. Because there is a challenge with the 40 hours, we feel like the curriculum as is would be 80 hours. And there are many ways to implement that using the community and schools by hybrid and virtual lessons to have this enforced within the community. Is there any other suggestions that we
Well,
have?
one thing I want to add is that when we think about this extension of the natural hair license, especially regarding the braiding certification or the new pathway, it's a new pathway, right? And if I was to come in as an entry level, braider with the 80 hours, that 80 hours would then, if I decided I want to go for my full 300, now I've already taken the theory. So now I just have to complete, the technical aspect. And because you already are skilled in that, that should be nothing, to complete. So it offers a pathway while preserving something that's already been since 1993.
And also experienced braiders who have 5 years or more experience in braiding. Obviously, they don't need to learn the technique of braiding. They would just have to do the core curriculum of the sanitation, disinfectant, and those kind of curriculums, including an easy pathway for them to prove that they are experienced braiders, which on the website now you can upload images of your work. So we would recommend 2 images of your technical work as well as a live video showing that you do have the experience of working. And in addition, you can have a coworker, an employer, or a client give a testimony of your work.
Yeah.
So those are some of our solutions. We have others, but those are, I think, the main point of the bill, which is to preserve the existing license and not try to deregulate it, and then offer a pathway for braiders to also get a license where they can continue to grow and flourish in the community.
Yes, and I think you had a question?
Yeah, well, so you all are in support of 7924
Correct,
opposed to 5438.
correct.
Now I would tell you, like, absent of hearing anything here today, I would be more likely to go with 5438
And because?
because it's a sister who actually wear a natural hairstyle versus a bald head brother.
Okay, so
Leah Webb is a sister.
No, I'm not
Yeah.
talking about, that's 6652, I'm saying 7924. So I'm just telling you, like,
So-
But,
Marguerite the Wall.
so did you understand?
Yeah, that's
no, I understand what.
No, but he's saying from the
I'm
look of
asking
it.
The
Okay.
explanations here, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
like, if a person, was just going off of that,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, I'm gonna take her testimony. It's just like, for instance, like certain legislation
Mhm.
that I would recognize more, it would be better for a woman to carry that particular legislation across the line.
Yes.
Like, I would step
Are
aside and
you're
support
an
that.
assembly member?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
How do you recommend we move forward with this?
But I just think like this right now, like having the conversation,
Mhm.
explain it to us, but then we have to, we're only what, 4 members
Yeah.
out of 150?
Yeah.
So like folks having a thorough understanding, so this
Yeah.
is very helpful.
Yeah.
So-
The information, but I'm just saying, absent
Well,
of this
yeah.
information, that's how,
This is just the beginning, just breaking down the
Yeah.
bills.
yeah,
We have a presentation for you which will explain why,
okay.
He's talking about the carry of the.
Yeah,
the
yeah. He's
carrier.
so
Yes.
so. I want to
let's go.
respond to you with that.
Yeah.
I 100% can see that perspective. We chose Pretlow for a few reasons. One is because he introduced legislation in 2017 that implemented and placed 2 natural hair care professionals to be on the Appearance Enhancement Advisory Board. Prior to that, there was none. They have not been in compliance. I was actually the first person on that board to even bring any of natural hair to the forefront because it was not on the table. There was no interest. Nobody cared. Yes.
I was the first.
Yes, I
in
tried to,
1997.
reach out to them. It took a year for them to finally circle back and be like, oh, okay, things like that happen. But what we were able to do was form a subcommittee under the Appearance Enhancement
Which was part of the
Advisory
bill.
Committee, which was the Natural Hair Subcommittee. And we were able to support and make the changes that need to make, especially with the 2023 Texture Inclusion Act that was released, which took New York State 77 years to introduce texture into law in that capacity in cosmetology. In 1947 was the first haircutting license in New York State, and it took 77 years for cosmetology to
Can I
acknowledge
say
texture.
something, please? Because of time, can
Yes.
you get to more of the meat of the bills? Because we don't have a lot of time, and I know, and I have some questions already. So,
Yes.
Okay,
like, if you could
please
move
ask your
why your
question.
bill and not the other bills?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alicia, do you have a specific question you could ask first and then
Yeah.
respond?
Well, yes, I think it's important that when the chair and the executive board asks members to present bills, this is the reason why. Because Petlow has never, I think, attended a task force meeting, let alone presented any bills he wanted us to carry. At least Senator Clear and A.M. Hunter are more involved. And the reason why I believe Clear and Hunter introduced the bill is because if you're in Harlem, you know that how many hair braiding places are left, right, and center.
Yes.
And it was more about making sure that these individuals were licensed because they know how to braid as opposed to going through the actual 300-hour program. So I think, to say that, I understand why they introduced the bill, and it's not saying that your bill is better. It's just because they wanted to make sure that these women from most of them from Africa, different countries in Africa. That was the reason why they introduced it, because Department of State does not have if Department of State had enough resources, they would close down all of the braiding shops in New York State. But because they don't have the resources, this was a workaround to make sure that these individuals became licensed. So it's not like the bill is short-sighted, it's because they saw a problem, they're trying to fix it.
Can I just respond? So in 2022, 23, we came to the table not because we didn't want braiders to get licensed, because there was an attempt to deregulate the license altogether, to have no license for natural hairstyling or braiding. We came to the table with Jacob here, who represents Assembly Hunter, and we were working with their office to create a license for braiders without deregulating and removing the natural hair styling license. And so when we come back to this bill here, we see the same thing again. We see deregulating and getting rid of the natural hair styling license, which has 42 programs right now and has an increase of stylists graduating from these schools at 9%, which are predominantly Black and brown women and men going to these schools. We have been working across the aisle with ACT over the 2 years to create a braiding license that would do all of these things. I am in the Harlem community. I have a salon in the Harlem community. I have a braider in my salon. I do not compete with the braiders because I understand that the African community are the braiders, but they don't have the knowledge or the science to help the community not be safe with alopecia, scalp disorders, and diseases. And this is the main reason why we are here today, because we want to continue to put this on the table to come up with a solution that will keep the braiders in their economic growth, give them the education they need so that alopecia is not a 50% epidemic in our community, which is proven to be traction and CCCA. So we have a member here who can go over that if you have any questions about that. But we are here to work across to have the diaspora and the community to create a solution for braiders. We are not here to be opposed to the bill in a way that we want to push it under the table. We don't want you to take away the natural hair styling license because there are schools and women who have been working in this community who do all of this. They do a full spectrum of braiding, locking, twisting, and they want to learn the full scope of the curriculum. They don't want to just be in their trial and error. Some people don't even know how to braid, believe it or not. They have to learn the technique. And this bill eliminates all techniques completely. All it is health and safety and a business license. How does that help the community?
So is it possible for you to share?
I can speak a little bit.
Okay, and just tell everyone who you are, because there's some people here from Zoom.
So I'm Jacob Sheritz. I'm the chief of staff for Assemblymember Hunter's office. So I'm not directly handling legislation anymore, but I was the last time these bills came up. And I would say there's probably a fair amount of agreement on the intent. We want skilled braiders to be able to safely practice their crafts in the community. We are working a lot with ACT. But I think the issue we have now, and I haven't had these conversations directly since the last iteration with the bill, but I had many conversations with staff with the Department of State, and the problem there that's been observed is many people who are operating without the license entirely. So the 300 hours, it's what was reported back to us is largely, doesn't have a lot of braiding included, and maybe that's something the Pretlow bill is getting at a little bit, but at the time, it wasn't really covering braiding, and sometimes what we'd hear is someone would come, who was sitting in the class might assist with that part of the instruction. So I'm just going off of what, this is like, 4 years ago. But I'll just get through this, and then if you have a follow-up, or however you want to handle it. So what we're looking at is, we want people to be able to legitimately earn an income, and I think that, at least for us, is even more compelling to us right now with how immigration populations are being treated. We want them to legitimately be able to earn an income. And I think a lot of people are going to braiders and they're getting quality service, but that person might not even have a license. So we want to bring some of those individuals who are able to give quality service, have them be able to practice legitimately. So I think that's part of it. But to your point about feedback we've gotten from Programming Council, whereas people from ACT, they might have learned how to braid in their home country. Right, so the program can't just be for them. So that's something, that's a piece of feedback we're working.
So,
as far as the instructional piece, but should it be 40 hours, should it be 300 hours? I think that's kind of the core of.
So basically, we have a comparison of the bill, of Pretlow's bill and what the license is now. On the bottom of the page, it says requires educational training right now is 300 hours in total. 80 hours is health and safety, scalp diseases, disordered, sanitation and disinfectant protocols. 220 hours is styling techniques, braiding, locking, weaving techniques. This is how the curriculum is broken down. It was just recently updated by the subcommittee to modernize it in the curriculum already. So the breakdown is that you do learn 220 hours of technique. That is what they don't want to learn, the braiders. And we agree. they don't have to learn that because they already come experienced if they have 5 years or more and can prove that. And most of them here do have a lot of experience. But what they don't have is the 80 hours. And I just, emphasize all of that. They
So
don't have the 80 hours. 40 hours is what Senator
highlight
Hunter's
this one
bill
point, okay.
and Assembly Member Hunter's bill and Claire's bill reduces the whole program to 40 hours. 40 hours is basically health and safety and one of the other divisions. Professionalism and health and safety protocol.
So I just want to highlight really quick here on the screen, and you have it in front of you. So what you see here is extreme braid tension. And so it causes tender red bumps around hair follicles, which indicate inflammation or infection, often caused by extreme braid tension. And I'm sure some of you may have had some experience with this at one point in your life or know someone that has. But I just wanted to show these images, but also highlight that the Institute for Justice is basically, they have a national campaign to deregulate natural hair and braiding. Right now they are at state 35 going on 36, and they drop this legislation everywhere. And so ACT in New York State has likened their legislation to this formula, and it always results back to it's a cultural practice, and we do not deny that, we understand it. But I want to point out in here, this is the Institute for Justice Arizona chapter. Essence Farmer was an aspiring natural hair braider in Arizona and led by the IJ to pass legislation in 2004 exempting braiders from licensing. So they're exempted, but if you look, I highlighted in the circle this image of these two individuals. It's showing the lack of awareness. The braider and the lawyer both appear unaware of the visibility of the tightly pulled hair, a root cause of traction alopecia. And you can see that right in the image that is on their website that they're promoting deregulation. So it's not a matter of 40 hours, 300 hours. It's a matter of public health and safety. And I'm going to give it to Diane because she is a hair restoration specialist who works in a dermatology office and can give you more of what's really happening in real time.
Good afternoon. My name is Diane Bailey. I am a licensed cosmetologist and natural hair specialist. I'm also a hair restoration specialist. I've been doing hair for over 42 years. I wrote 2 textbooks on natural hair. That's what they use in the schools, and that's what they use to educate the generation that we have in the schools now. These pictures that we're showing you, the first one on top is traction alopecia, and that's from excessive braiding. That's what it looks like, up close and up front. I work with Dr. Osei Tutu, and she's a certified dermatologist, and in her dermatology office, I see hundreds of women a month with this problem. It has been, this epidemic it's starting as early as 5 years old, 5, because they're braiding their hair. And when they say they're braiding their hair, I'm talking about very tight. This hair loss epidemic is a public health issue. This is not whether I like you or don't like you. This is not anything but abusive behavior based on aesthetics. And I really am concerned in how do we prevent this continuum of hair abuse based on skill set or the lack thereof. Having a license is the key. Having a license is the way we can save our babies from not being scarred for the rest of their adult life with hair that will never grow back unless you go to a dermatologist where I work. The science is based on real education, and education matters. Applying extreme painful tension when braiding, neglecting the signs of inflammation. When someone says to you, hold your hair while I braid it, that's a sign that it's too tight. If someone says to you, do you need ice or water to spray? Right, because it cools the
pain, the heat.
The heat from the inflammation. There's something wrong with that service. But however, it has been normalized. We have normalized the pain of beauty, and that is not correct. Exactly. So, one of the things that I want to say, it is often said, my mother had this problem with alopecia. My sister had this problem with alopecia. My auntie, she lost her hair too. So it's in my family. It's been passed down generationally. It has not been passed down. Traction alopecia is not, you're not born with traction alopecia. You acquire it through bad service and bad behavior. And so the other one that I'm concerned about, and it's really important as well, we have an epidemic, again, on CCCA, and that's centrical alopecia. That alopecia is still being studied. However, to know that it exists is important in our community, and most braiders do not know it even exists.
And it's often thought of as female pattern baldness.
Or
However, it is not.
it is not female pattern baldness.
Hereditary,
Yes.
which it is not.
So this is the problem. So by educating the braider on what the first signs to look for, she can direct that client to the dermatologist. The braider is on the front line. She's on the front line when a client gets a divorce, when a client has a baby, and when a client loses her hair. She's on the front line. And the only way to get that front line elevated is through real education. And it's not going to be that time consuming, but it will add so much value to the service and to the community. So that's, yes,
So
question.
the question is, has Hunter and Pretlow been working on this bill together to get a middle ground?
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. We
That's
want a
why we're
middle
trying to
ground.
get the middle ground.
Pretlow on this, because we haven't heard from him.
We are.
You guys
we are
representing for
Pretlow.
Pretlow?
Yes.
Okay.
We have reached out to Senator Claire and Hunter,
Uh-huh.
and they have not responded to us at all.
Okay. So, any other questions from members here about? You got questions? Okay.
Can I ask you?
Yes. Go ahead.
I know Jacob's there. Hi, Jacob. So, have the staffs met
Right.
between on both?
From what I've heard, and this is coming from those working on our bill with ACT, they've reached out to Pretlow's office, but I think because of how late the budget, I mean, that's what they attributed it to, so was very preoccupied.
Yeah.
And we've reached out to
he's
ACT
busy.
numerous times as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess the
Karima has
ask is from the
definitely
task
reached out,
force is
yeah.
that the members meet, or offices have a chance to
Yes.
meet and discuss, and then let the members come back to us with some kind of understanding of what they think we should do. I think it's great that you guys get to present, and then Jake was here, of course, to talk through Pam Hunter's bill. But I don't know what else is there for us to do besides listen to both.
Well, how does it work? Because I mean, I'm not a stylist. I'm a media professional, but I'm also a natural hair advocate. My name is Natasha Gaspard, by the way. I'm one of the co-founders of the coalition, as well as a founder of a media organization that covers the intersections between natural hair, health, politics, race, culture, and identity. And we're advocates here because we know that this is very important, right? This is the work that people, 42 years in the game, you know what I'm saying? You're still learning. There's still more to learn. And so my question is this. We, again, went with Pretlow because of his history with natural hair care. We don't necessarily know how everything works, so we were told the Black Task Force is the one to talk to.
No,
So
you
this
did a
is
good
how
job.
we're here.
Okay.
I don't know, right.
You're in the right spot.
Right, exactly. But I don't know how the politics work with, how to get this bill in whose hands is going to push it through,
So,
and this and the third, and how does
I
that
shared, and this is for members, I shared with them before we started that you get to go to the committee members and have that
Okay.
conversation with them
Okay.
as well. But the members should be pushing their bills if they really believe in those bills. So that's part of the concern, is that we'll listen to advocates, of course, especially because this issue is important.
Yeah.
But if the members don't show that they care about the bill, then how are we supposed to?
I understand.
So, yeah, and especially because these are both members, well, Pam Hunter is an actual member of this body.
Yes.
Where Gary Pretlow is not.
Yeah.
So, but because this is an issue around a majority Black women issue, we wanted it to come before us.
Thank you.
So we do give deference to the people who are part of our membership.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Pam, of course, is gonna have
Yeah.
Right.
opportunity to talk through.
I would
Yes.
say she'd likely
You
be
hear that?
here if she hadn't.
Right.
The session was still going.
Yeah, it was still going on.
So I just thought she was gonna.
So I think you guys are doing a great job. You're in the right place. I think the next step for you all is just to continue to have conversation with your member who represents you guys on Senate and Assembly, and then going to the committee members on that committee that is going to go through and sharing that information.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Too, just real quick.
And then
If the 40-hour bill passed, that doesn't mean that the 300-hour, the natural hairstyling would be no good. Is that what you think it means?
They
So,
both have the same
They have-
name.
yeah.
They have the same
They
name.
both have the same.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Natural hairstyling license. So how can you have a natural hairstyling license that's 300 hours and a natural hairstyling license that's 400
Oh.
hours?
40.
40 hours.
So it's
It's a conflict.
It's a conflict.
Well, let me ask this.
Oh, I see.
Well, I mean, is it? I mean, Jacob. So, can you tell us what was the premise of creating a license for 40 hours? Was it to reduce 300 to 40, or was it to create a separate license?
I think it
for
was
40?
to reduce.
Yes, it's
Exactly.
always
It was
been.
to-
It has
it's
never
always
been
been
to create
create-
separate. And so that's why we're here to offer that solution. Because it can happen. They can both
can
exist
both
together.
exist.
And so one thing I want everybody to leave with today is that braiders are not the only people in this industry. Okay, this industry has been created and curated by black women for eons. Okay, it started in 1993 out of need and necessity. Okay, and we're here now because, again, the same thing, the need and the necessity. And you know, people that want to kind of cut corners, skip a little bit because they don't want to do something that they feel they already do. But we have so many schools, like when we talk about growth, and I just want to highlight this, there are so many programs in New York State. And 3 years ago, there was one testing site. We're now going into the third testing site. Right? We had natural hair programs with EOC, and we have letters of support in here from the schools, from doctors, dermatologists, and our, you know, Professor Wendy, the architect of the legal architect of the Crown Act. But since 2022, there's been an 18% increase of licensure for natural hair. The programs have been filled up to where EOC was able to open up new programming out in Rochester, which is a new territory for natural hair, period, because it's only been in the center of New York City for many years. So now we're spreading out because there's a growing demand. There is a growing market, you know? So we have to look at the market and what's happening. And that market is saying that black women deserve great hair care. They deserve professionals that are educated and licensed and are able to accommodate their needs and recognize what hair care is. And speaking of that, there's a difference between a braiding salon and a natural hair salon. A braiding salon is focused on aesthetics, style, beauty. There's nothing wrong with that. However, a natural hair salon focuses on hair care from scalp to the tip,
Yeah.
right? It focuses on internal. It's a holistic
Integrated.
approach to beauty.
As well as
Yes.
styling.
Yes, as well as styling. So we have to look at these two spaces and understand that they run parallel, but they're interconnected. And so it's our responsibility to accommodate both of those. And New York State has been a leader in texture and natural hair care since 1993.
Yeah.
They were the first one to introduce the Texture Inclusion Act. You know, New York State is about texture, and we appreciate that. But we have to do what's right for all parties. It's not just a one-sided, we want to dispose of the license. Because what happens to those individuals that have invested their life's work into opening an institution that's doing very well, or someone that, you know, was able to go to a school program that didn't have a way? But now they have a way. So we have to look at this from a holistic approach and not just a one-sided perspective.
And for the thousands or hundreds of thousands of black women who are looking for a salon that knows how to actually do their hair. Because there's a lot of women who cannot find an actual skilled, licensed professional to do their hair.
You're paying up to $1,000
Yeah.
for a hairstyle and flying from all across the
Right.
country to come to, you see
I-
on
oh,
TikTok.
Yeah.
we see it.
So so what you're basically saying is that both bills can exist.
Mhm.
The way it would exist is,
It would be the 300
300
hours,
hours.
and then the braiding would be
Whatever
a
that
subdivision
hours is gonna
under
be.
that.
so everybody, which I went to go to cosmetology school myself.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I had another person that had the license. And I was like, so what I'm saying is that everybody's required when you do cosmetology to do 300.
No,
and
no,
then-
cosmetology.
No,
is
cosmetology is separate.
Separate.
So natural hair is a separate separate from cosmetology.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
300, so that would be the baseline, 300. And then if you're focusing in, so then we do the
Just braiding
Right.
would be,
40 is never.
we would
no,
do
I'm talking about in the world of these two bills.
Yeah, it would be 80 hours.
80 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't.
So,
Yeah.
Well, that's.
That's what's being
that's what's being
introduced.
introduced.
Yes, but the program, the Assembly Council,
When you said both could happen. at the same
Yes,
time, I thought
Yes.
you just feel that.
Well,
40 is, you said 40 cannot be because you can't, you don't learn anything in 40 hours, right?
And the state's,
We're advocating for 80 to 100
Where is
hours.
What we're saying right now in the natural health curriculum is it's 80 hours, right? 80 and 100, or is it
80 to
80
the state-
hours.
the-
Saying that 40 hours should be 80.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
But it
And
could be
that's,
75.
no.
It could.
And that's why, I just have to
No.
say this, the answer is no. Okay, it's 80 hours
It's 80
because
hours,
that's the
that's what the
theory
state
and
says.
the
That's what I
curriculum.
make sure y'all
Yes.
came in and
So
said
right
40
here,
to 80,
yes.
But then the both could exist.
Yes, yes,
And the 300.
yes.
Yes.
300 is the baseline.
Yes.
Yes.
It'd be like additional, like I want to focus on this.
No, it wouldn't
No.
be additional.
No.
It would be entry. It would be entry with experience.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because I already know the skill. I already know the technique. I already
So I just wanna
braid.
make sure we
I
have the
want to now
safety.
get the
Right, we want the
theory.
science,
Yes.
right, the
Yes.
safety.
Oh, I have 5 years of doing this.
Yes. So it's a pathway,
Yes, plus
right?
the 80.
Yes.
That's it.
And the
That's it, you got
reason,
it.
so just to reiterate where this 40 hours has come from and why it's halted, the New York State Assembly Program and Council staff, they oppose cutting the hours. So that's why we're saying we can have that 80 hours from the curriculum that already exists. That means that you wouldn't have to do anything extra above, you would just take the curriculum, and you can do that at your pace. So that's that.
That's it.
That's really it.
That's really it. That's the essence of it.
Also,
Natural
that
hair
all
braiding.
the staff don't have to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have to speak.
We would love
to
that. I mean,
that's
we
what
would-
We've been trying to do that for 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
At
Yes.
some point, right?
At some point.
So how would we be able to have that happen? Because we've sent a lot of emails. How do we get in
Yes.
at the table where we would clear Hunter, Pretlow?
Should probably speak to the assembly member first, but I mean,
Yes,
based on
yes,
where
yes, yes.
things are, I mean, I don't think this is by June 17th.
Oh, no.
No, we know that this is not.
That's not gonna go to
No.
session this
And
session.
again, New York State is just one of the states, it's like about the 35th state that's gonna try to deregulate from cosmetology.
We just got calls from
But the thing is,
Chicago.
New York State has already deregulated from cosmetology since 1993. That's what a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
It's not under cosmetology, it's under New York State appearance enhancement,
Yep.
right? So that,
It's
that
already a
argument-
separate
It's already a
license.
license.
it's already its own standalone license.
Yeah.
And then you said something about Rochester. Can you repeat that?
Yes, so EOC, and you can see the letters here. This is from the Capital District Educational Opportunity Center. So their first program started in Troy. The natural hair program has been very successful. They have been, having to hold people back from joining. And they've been able to further their reach to Rochester, which now they have a program. And the instructor also wrote a letter in here. Yes. So,
The testing
okay,
site.
yes. So you can go visit the EOCs
testing
out there,
site
right?
and the
Yes.
EOC.
Is that our EOC?
Yes, that's EOC.
Roosevelt?
Yes, and her name is Lakia Talon Wilson. That's the instructor. But all that's right here.
He got 10 daughters.
Yeah, so he got 10 daughters.
Are there any questions?
So
Any questions before you leave?
We appreciate you.
Member Hyman had a question.
Okay.
She asked, what should the average cost of the PGM be?
As far, because you said something about
The average cost of what?
PGM.
program.
The program?
So I'm glad that you asked that. So
So the question,
the question.
Oh,
My question is offline.
oh.
the-
Darcia asked it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna answer that. Hi, how are
I didn't
you?
hear the question.
Okay, the question was, how much does the program cost? Okay, so in New York State, you can actually go, there's a couple of different ways. There's different places that offer tuition free, depending on your income programming. You can obviously enroll in a
Yeah, I
school,
know
a traditional
that. I just wanna
school.
know if it was a 300-hour program, how much what do you think the cost should be? Because a lot of schools that offer this kind of program are proprietary schools supervised by the Department
Yes.
of Education, right?
Yes.
So EOC, I understand that makeup. I'm asking you, what should the average cost be?
Well,
It's-
at this
it should be what
time,
it
we
is.
have reached out to Magic Fingers in Queens, who is,
That's in my district.
yes, and
Jamaica Avenue.
her program right now for the 300 hours is $7,000. We have asked her to
$7,000.
for the 300
300 hours.
That's 300
For the
hours.
80
Wow,
for the-
that's cost prohibitive for a lot of people.
Yes,
No,
it
yeah,
is,
it is, but
that's
that's
not
the
what the
one.
80 hours is
That's
gonna
not what
be.
80 is going to be. 80 is going to be much
We've
less.
reached out to her to give us a cost analysis for the breakdown of what 80 hours would cost in the school. However, it could be a virtual learning because it's all theory. It's no practical, it's no hands-on. So that would make the cost go down.
Down.
And we can
Absolutely.
get you those numbers as soon as she gets back to us with that cost.
Yes.
But understanding that bringing the education to the community can be worked with other organizations through virtual learning over a period of time. And the 1 year, which is what we recommend, is not a 6-year learning time frame. It's a 1 year. You have 1 year and an additional 1 year for an extension if you did not finish the course. So we have other solutions that we would like to definitely bring to the table, but the cost we are working on, and we can get that back to you. I doubt it would be, I can't say for
You don't
sure.
know.
I
It
don't wanna
wouldn't
say-
be, it would
Right.
not be
It's gonna
costly.
anywhere near 7,000.
No.
Yeah,
No.
and there's opportunities with, the Department of Labor. I know that they offer different programs for people based on their income in New York City that you can go and say, oh, I want to take this path. I don't know the details, but I do have it somewhere. But that's an option. So there's so many different opportunities, and another opportunity that we have that we're presenting in this bill is apprenticeship.
Right.
And the apprenticeship offers the opportunity without having to put up money, costly $7,000, because we do understand not everybody has that, right? So what is another way? In real time, I can work in real time, make money, and still earn my license. So
I want to say to my colleagues, you should have mentioned this, Brian, when we talked about filling vacancies on boards. Appearance enhancement is one of the boards. There's a lot of them.
So
we have all the vacancies. It's really important that we get resumes and and Howard Vargas in the assembly can tell us what all the vacancies are, so we can get people that we know to get on these boards.
So I'm glad you brought that up.
Our suggestions to have a braider on the board.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's been about 3 years now, and we have had multiple candidates apply, and none of them have been chosen. We just got a new candidate, 2 new people this past session, but we're still looking. So yes, please spread the word, because we need the seats filled so we can, have a full quorum.
Yeah.
What she just said. What she said.
Okay.
What she said. Period.
Are there any more questions?
Yeah, I was on dermatologist.
Oh, okay.
All these needles in our head.
Oh.
Yeah.
We just don't want this to be a us versus them,
Right.
or them. No, this is our hair. We all have the same texture hair, similarly, multiple various textures growing out of our head that require different care. And the only people that can really understand and know that are the ones that live it and breathe it. And we can't have, institutes like the Institute for Justice going around deregulating us, and they have no clue what they're deregulating.
And young girls like this are suffering. Young girls like this are ashamed to show their husbands, to show their families.
That's why they're wearing
weaves.
Wigs,
It's so sad.
Yes,
It's
wigs,
so sad.
sorry, because they don't have any hair.
So because this can be avoided. This can be avoided.
Didn't I already have this conversation when I said it?
Yes.
Yeah, I will. They might still be talking.
No. Listen, I just want you to know.
It's all ages.
I just want you to know something. I have four types of alopecia. I have traction alopecia. I have CCCA, centrical. I have fibritis, alopecia, frontal fibritis, and when I have anxiety, I have alopecia areata.
Yeah, I get that one right here.
Yeah.
Stress.
If I'm stressed out, my hair will fall out just in a heartbeat. So,
What do you do?
what do I do?
What are the recommendations for your type of alopecia?
From all my types of alopecia,
Yeah.
I go to a derm. I eat right. I know my triggers. I understand what hair loss is. It is an imbalance. So then I try to find balance. I don't try to necessarily cover it up. I try to nurture my scalp and hair and nurture my body. How do I do that? Well, with hair care, with the right herbs, by going to the dermatologist, by eating, sleeping, right? It's self-care.
Yes.
When your hair starts falling out, your body is telling you something. When you take out your braids and you see that your hair that you had 2 weeks ago is not there, your body is telling you something. You cannot keep repeating the same bad behavior and expect better results. So my job when you come into the office is to support you in that journey. Because in the world, they're going to tell you, oh, that's nothing. Let me just braid over it.
A lot of, if you see the videos, they'll take this side right here, they'll start to braid, and then they'll braid over it, throw a net on it, and then they'll sew, and then your scalp is not able to breathe, right? And then on top of that, now we're pulling the edges back.
Right.
And one highlight I want to make about the dermatology visit, it is not covered by insurance. So that means that an unlicensed professional that is offering a paid for service, which in New York State, you under Article 28, you have to have a license in order to take money. You also have to have a license in order to touch a person. And that's under Article 28, under the appearance enhancement. And so if it is that these individuals are not aware of the path, now you're inflicting harm on individuals and you're costing them more in the long run for dermatology that's not covered. And so now they're bald, and and then it impacts the mental health. So it's a domino effect. It's a snowball effect. And I'm sure every single one of you have had some, women, young people in your family, men that have suffered hair loss, and they might not feel that great about themselves. Because when you look good, you feel good, right? You feel better. So we have to think of this as an all-encompassing thing. It's not just about braiding. This is about health, the health of Black women, period.
Yes.
And that's all I have to say. So we thank you
We said it. We're done.
for coming here today and listening to our, information. And if you have any questions, our information is on the bottom of each section. You can email us. You can send a pigeon, carrier pigeon, whatever,
Let's talk about restoration.
Yes, please.
So let's talk about that.
Sure.
I didn't want to take up.
No worries.
Yeah.
No worries. I'm available.
So besides that first statement that you made, there's no
But that's just in like a first thing.
It does. It does.
But that's the part of the story that's not being told, right? You're getting one story. Thank you so much. What is your name? Kwani. Where are you coming? Like, who are you representing? You? Or?
So I represent District 11, so parts of Nassau County, Suffolk County.
Okay. Do you have a card or?
My chief of staff.
Oh, we came from your office. Look. Let me show you. Where's my purse? Hold on 1 second. So we'll email. Yeah, this is you, right? They gave it to you. That's you. Yes. Yep. And we actually dropped the folder off, but enjoy. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for your feedback. And I do understand, but we wanted to, we know, it's politics, right? Yeah, that's it. But we can't afford afford to let this license go. It was created by Black women for Black women.
Okay.
And that's, again, another part of the story that's not being told.
Yeah.
There's a whole story that's not being told, and that's why we're here, because we're tired of it. Okay?
We're not tired.
Okay, no, tired of the story being told.
Tired of the story.
Yes. Oh man. All right, well, we did it. Right? I was like, I saw it. I was like, huh? Yeah. Hold on. I'm like, are we on? We don't know. Oh, you turned it off? Oh, okay, I'm like, you know, we got. Yeah, we do. We need to roll up in there. So the other part. So we actually are on the Larry Daniel Favor Show every first Monday of the month. Larry on Sirius XM, The Politics of Black Beauty. We'll be on this coming Friday, the 30th, and then probably again. Yeah, but this was a special one. So yeah, we're normally on the first Monday, but this Friday is something special. Yep, channel 126. And if you follow us on the Instagram, _NHBC, we post that all the time, and you can just, check it out.
And Diane is starting a podcast.
Do the what? Oh, XM, yeah. Well, they will post it after, and we will normally do a clip or put the link for the YouTube. It's called Larry Daniel, _the NHBC. Coalition. Yeah, that's us, the blue. That is us. All right, and what was your name again? Do you have a card? Well, okay, well, you followed us on there, right? So we can get a hold of you. Okay, and where are you located?
Rochester.
Oh,
So
yes.
I'm all familiar with REOC.
So
I
then,
work with them, sponsor them.
yes. So go and talk to the students. Listen,